Hey there, and welcome to the Magic Snail channel. This is where we share real life stories about people dealing with all kinds of situations. Some are funny, some are messy, and some are downright unbelievable. If you like hearing stories that feel real and keep you curious, you'll feel right at home here. So go ahead, like the video, and subscribe to the channel if you want more. We've got plenty of stories waiting for you.
The airline text came at 9:47 p.m. Flight 2847 canceled due to weather, rebooking available tomorrow morning. I stared at my phone in the Hartford airport terminal, watching other stranded passengers curse at departure boards. 3 days in Boston for a construction expo, cut short by a freak ice storm. At least I'd be home tonight instead of tomorrow. My name is Ethan Caldwell, and I've been managing construction projects for 15 years. I'm 41, weathered hands, permanent tan lines from work gloves, and I pride myself on seeing problems before they become disasters. Should have applied that skill to my marriage. The drive back to our small Connecticut town took 2 hours through freezing rain. Our house sat on Maple Street, a 1920s colonial that Lydia had insisted we buy because it looked prestigious. White picket fence, red shutters, the whole American dream package. Cost us a fortune we didn't have, but Lydia's marketing director's salary helped justify the mortgage. Her car was in the driveway, but every window was dark. Strange. Lydia usually stayed up late, laptop glowing as she worked on campaigns for her firm. I grabbed my duffel bag and headed for the front door. The house felt different, colder somehow, despite the thermostat reading 72 degrees. I called out, "Lydia, I'm home early." Nothing. Her purse sat on the kitchen counter next to an empty wine glass. Expensive stuff, not the usual grocery store bottle we shared on weekends. I climbed the stairs, each creak echoing through the silence. Our bedroom door was closed. I turned the handle slowly, expecting to find her asleep, empty. Bed made, but something was off. The pillows were arranged wrong. Lydia was obsessive about how they looked, and these were haphazard, like someone had quickly straightened them. That's when I heard the garage door opening. I moved to the window and watched Lydia's Honda Civic pull in. She sat in the car for several minutes, checking her reflection in the rearview mirror, fixing her hair. When she finally came inside, I was waiting in the kitchen. "Ethan!" She jumped, nearly dropping her keys. "You scared me. I thought you weren't coming back until Thursday." "Flight got canceled. Where were you?" She hesitated, just for a second, but I caught it. "Work event. Client dinner ran late. You know how it is." I knew how it was, all right. Lydia's client dinners had become increasingly frequent over the past 6 months. Always last minute, always running late, always leaving her looking slightly disheveled. "Which client?" I asked. "The Patterson account. Big presentation next week." She moved past me toward the stairs. "I'm exhausted. Can we catch up tomorrow?" The Patterson account had closed 3 months ago. I remembered because Lydia had celebrated with champagne and talked about the bonus check for 2 weeks straight. I waited until I heard the shower running upstairs, then started looking around. Her laptop bag was by the front door. Unusual, since she normally worked at the kitchen table. Inside I found her work laptop and something else. A second phone. Not her usual iPhone with the cracked screen protector and family photos. This was a newer model, sleek black case, no identifying marks. I pressed the home button, and it lit up. No passcode protection. The message thread at the top made my stomach drop. "David, can't wait to see you Thursday. Usual place? Lydia, change of plans. Ethan's flight that got canceled. David, too bad. Tomorrow then? I need to feel you again. Lydia, stop. You know I can't resist when you talk like that." I scrolled up. Months of messages, photos I won't describe, plans for meetups at something called the Lake House. Details about hotel rooms and afternoon workouts at his gym. David Turner. I knew that name. He owned the fitness club where Lydia had started going 6 months ago, claiming she needed to get back in shape. Married guy, local golden boy, one of those perpetually tan types who probably hadn't done a day of real work in his life. My hands were shaking as I forwarded the entire message thread to my own email. Screenshots of everything, the photos, the calendar appointments, the receipts for hotel rooms I'd never heard of. Evidence of a double life I'd been too trusting to see. The shower was still running upstairs. I put the phone back exactly where I'd found it and walked out to my truck. I needed air. I needed to think. I needed to figure out what the heck I was going to do with the fact that my wife of 12 years was screwing some gym owner behind my back. I called my best friend Nate from the driveway. He answered on the second ring, voice groggy. "Ethan? It's almost midnight, man. Everything okay?" "Looks like I'm not crazy after all," I said. Nate Martinez has been my foreman for 8 years and my friend for longer. He's the kind of guy who will help you move a body without asking questions, then make jokes about it afterward. When I told him about the phone, he was quiet for a long moment. "You sure about this, Eth? I mean, really sure? Screenshots don't lie." "Crap. I'm sorry, man. What do you need?" That's why I trusted Nate. No judgment, no lectures about working it out or going to counseling. Just practical support. We met the next morning at the Copper Tap, the local dive bar that served as unofficial headquarters for every blue-collar worker in town. Marty Kowalski, the owner, had been pouring drinks and collecting gossip for 30 years. If something was happening in our town, Marty knew about it. "You look like heck," Nate observed as I slid into our usual booth. "Didn't sleep much. I'd spent most of the night in my truck, driving around town, trying to process everything. I need to know how long this has been going on, and I need to know who else knows about it." Marty appeared with coffee before I asked. He was 60-something, built like a fire hydrant, with eyes that missed nothing. "Heard your flight got canceled," he said casually. "Word travels fast. Small town." He glanced around, then leaned closer. "Can I speak freely?" I nodded. "Your wife's been spending a lot of time with David Turner. Not just at his gym, if you catch my meaning. Started noticing it a few months back. Figured it wasn't my business, but since you're asking, what exactly did you notice? They come in here sometimes. Separate cars, but they sit together, real cozy. She pays cash, he pays cash. Neither one wants a paper trail, seems like." My coffee tasted like ash. "How many people know?" "Enough. Turner's not as smooth as he thinks. His wife Jennifer's been asking questions, too. She's a nurse over at the hospital. Smart lady, doesn't miss much." Jennifer Turner, the other betrayed spouse. Maybe I wasn't as alone in this as I'd thought. After Nate left for the job site, I drove to the office of Clifford Harris, a private investigator I'd found online. His office was above a dry cleaner downtown. One room with a desk, 2 chairs, and a filing cabinet that had seen better decades. Cliff was ex-police, early 60s, with the weary look of someone who'd seen too much human nature. I laid out what I knew, showed him the screenshots I'd printed. "Standard cheating spouse case," he said after reviewing everything. "Question is, what do you want to accomplish? Divorce evidence? Public humiliation? Just confirmation?" "I want the truth, all of it. How long, where they meet, who else is involved. And I want David Turner's wife to know what her husband's been up to." That's not usually how I work. My job is to gather information for my client, not play matchmaker between betrayed spouses. Then gather the information. What I do with it afterward is my business. He quoted me a daily rate that made me wince, but I agreed. This was worth more than money. That afternoon, I went to Turner's gym. Platinum Fitness was one of those upscale places with gleaming equipment and membership fees that cost more than most people's car payments. David Turner was easy to spot. Tall, broad shoulders, perfectly styled hair, working the room like a politician at a fundraiser. I watched him interact with female clients, lots of touching, adjusting form, spotting weights, lingering hands on shoulders and backs. The guy was a predator with a business license. "Can I help you?" A woman approached, mid-30s, athletic build, tired eyes. Her name tag read, Jennifer. "Just looking around," I said, thinking about joining. She handed me a brochure. "I'm Jennifer Turner. My husband owns the gym." So this was her. Up close, she looked like someone carrying a heavy burden. Dark circles under her eyes, the kind of forced smile that came from practice rather than happiness. "I'm Ethan Caldwell. My wife Lydia's been coming here for a while." Something flickered in her expression. "Lydia Caldwell. Yes, I know her. She works out with David quite a bit. Private sessions, among other things." The way she said it made clear she knew exactly what those other things were. We looked at each other for a moment, 2 people recognizing shared pain. "Would you like to get coffee sometime?" I asked. "I think we might have some things to discuss." She glanced around the gym, then back at me. "Tomorrow, 2 o'clock. There's a diner on Route 9, just past the interstate exit." I'll be there. As I left the gym, I saw David Turner watching me in the mirror. He had the look of a man who sensed trouble but couldn't quite identify the source. Good. Let him worry. The diner on Route 9 was the kind of place where truckers stopped for coffee and pie, anonymous and forgettable. Jennifer Turner was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with her back to the wall. She'd traded her gym clothes for jeans and a sweater, looking more like a tired suburban mom than a fitness professional. "You came," she said as I sat down. "Did you think I wouldn't?" "I wasn't sure. Most men don't want to hear the details." She stirred her coffee absently. "How long have you known? Since Tuesday night? Found a second phone." "You? Months, maybe longer. The signs were all there. Working late, new clothes, different cologne, the classic midlife crisis package." Her voice was bitter. I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. I pulled out printed copies of some of the text messages. These convinced me I wasn't. She read them, her expression hardening with each line. Son of a witch. He told me he was ending it. When? 3 weeks ago. I confronted him about the credit card charges, hotel rooms, expensive dinners, gifts I never received. He swore it was over and said it was just a fling that got out of hand. But you didn't believe him. I wanted to. We have 2 kids, a mortgage, a business together, 15 years of marriage. You want to believe people can change. The waitress refilled our coffee. Jennifer waited until she was gone before continuing. I hired a private investigator last month, got photos of them together at David's lake house. That's his little love nest. Inherited it from his father, uses it for his affairs. Affairs, plural? Your wife isn't his first. Probably won't be his last. David has a type, married women, professional, looking for excitement. He's very good at making them feel special. I felt sick. How many others? That I know of? 3 in the past 5 years. The others ended when the women came to their senses or their husbands found out. Lydia's lasted longer than most. Why haven't you left him? She was quiet for a long moment. Same reason you haven't left her yet, I imagine. It's complicated. Our whole life is built around the gym, our reputation in the community. David's good at making people believe that he's the victim when relationships end. What do you mean? The last woman who had an affair with him, Sarah Mitchell, her husband found out, filed for divorce. David convinced half the town that she was unstable, that she'd pursued him relentlessly. By the time he was done, she couldn't show her face at the grocery store without people whispering. I was beginning to understand the scope of what I was dealing with. This wasn't just adultery. It was a pattern of predatory behavior with a sophisticated cover-up operation. I want to stop him, I said. So do I. But David's smart. He's careful about evidence, good at manipulating situations, and he has friends in this town. People who owe him favors or believe his version of events. Then we need to be smarter. She looked at me appraisingly. What did you have in mind? I leaned forward. You know his patterns, his methods, his weaknesses. I know construction, logistics, planning. Between us, we can document everything and make sure the truth comes out in a way that can't be spun or covered up. You're talking about revenge. I'm talking about justice. How many more women is he going to manipulate? How many more marriages is he going to destroy while playing the innocent victim? Jennifer was quiet for several minutes, staring out the window at the parking lot. Finally, she nodded. What's the first step? We gather everything. Photos, financial records, witness statements. Build a case so airtight that David can't lie his way out of it. And then we make sure everyone knows exactly who David Turner really is. And we make sure Lydia understands the consequences of her choices. We shook hands across the table. 2 betrayed spouses forming an alliance built on shared pain and common purpose. Over the next week, Jennifer and I met regularly to coordinate our investigation. She had access to David's financial records through their joint business accounts. I had Cliff Harris documenting their movements and gathering photographic evidence. The picture that emerged was worse than I'd imagined. David had been using the gym as his personal hunting ground for years. He targeted married women going through rough patches, offered them attention and validation, then gradually escalated to affairs. The lake house was his standard location for seductions. Lydia fit the pattern perfectly. She'd joined the gym 6 months after her father died, when she was vulnerable and questioning her life choices. David had swooped in with private training sessions, gradually building intimacy through shared workouts and long conversations, about her goals and dreams. He's a professional, Jennifer observed during one of our meetings. Look at the timeline. He spent 2 months just building trust before making any moves. Then another month of emotional intimacy before anything physical happened. Grooming, I said. Exactly. And once they're hooked, he makes them feel like they're special, like they're different from his other conquests. Lydia probably thinks she's the love of his life. The hardest part was maintaining normal behavior at home. Lydia continued her routine of late nights and mysterious errands, apparently convinced I suspected nothing. She'd become more affectionate, probably guilt-motivated, which made everything worse. How's the Patterson project going? I asked one evening just to see what she'd say. Really well. Demanding client, but the results are worth it. She kissed my cheek. Thanks for being patient with all the late nights. The Patterson account that had closed 3 months ago. She was so deep in her lies that she'd forgotten what she'd told me. By the end of the week, Jennifer and I had enough evidence to destroy both David and Lydia's reputations permanently. Photos of them entering and leaving the lake house. Credit card records showing David paying for hotel rooms and expensive dinners. Text messages detailing their intimate encounters and mocking their respective spouses. What's the end game? Jennifer asked during our final planning meeting. Public exposure. Complete social destruction. I want everyone in this town to know exactly who they're dealing with. And after that? After that, they can have each other. They deserve what they're going to get. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Saturday afternoon, while David was at the gym and Lydia was supposedly running errands, Jennifer and I would confront them together at our house. No escape routes, no time to coordinate stories, just raw truth and consequences. I told Lydia I was working a half day at the construction site, giving her freedom to meet David at the lake house. Cliff Harris was positioned to document their arrival and departure, adding final photos to our collection. At exactly 3 p.m., I pulled into my driveway, followed by Jennifer's car. Lydia's Honda was already there. She'd returned from her errands an hour earlier, probably showered and changed clothes to eliminate evidence of her afternoon activities. You ready for this? Jennifer asked as we walked to the front door. Been ready for weeks. I used my key to enter, calling out, Lydia, I'm home early, and I brought a friend. She appeared at the top of the stairs, hair still damp, wearing the silk robe I'd bought her for Christmas. When she saw Jennifer, her face went pale. Ethan? What's going on? Who is this? Come down here. We need to talk. Lydia descended slowly, her eyes fixed on Jennifer with growing recognition. You're from the gym. I'm David's wife, Jennifer said simply. The color drained completely from Lydia's face. She grabbed the banister for support, looking like she might faint. I think you two should meet properly, I continued. After all, you have so much in common. You've both been screwing the same man for the past 6 months. Ethan, I can explain. No need, we have plenty of documentation. I pulled out a manila folder, thick with printed photos and text messages. Jennifer and I have been comparing notes. Fascinating reading. I spread the contents across the coffee table. Photos of Lydia and David entering the lake house. Screenshots of their explicit text conversations. Credit card statements showing David's payments for hotel rooms and expensive dinners. Lydia sank onto the couch, staring at the evidence. How did you get these? Turns out David's not as clever as he thinks, Jennifer said. And you're not as careful as you should be. Leaving your second phone lying around? Amateur mistake. My what? I pulled out the black phone I'd been monitoring for weeks. This one. The one you used to coordinate your affairs. Very romantic stuff in here, by the way, especially the photos. Lydia's hands were shaking. Ethan, please, let me explain. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been having an affair with David Turner for 6 months. Meeting at his lake house, hotel rooms, probably the gym after hours. You've been lying to me every single day, creating elaborate stories about work events and client dinners. The Patterson account, Jennifer added. Nice touch, using a closed project as cover. Shows real creativity. Lydia looked between us, finally understanding the scope of what she was facing. You two planned this together. Betrayed spouses have to stick together, I said. Turns out we have a lot to discuss. That's when we heard a car door slam outside. Through the window, I saw David Turner's BMW in my driveway. He was striding toward the front door with the confidence of a man who believed he controlled the situation. Expecting someone? Jennifer asked Lydia. The front door opened without a knock. David walked in like he owned the place, stopping short when he saw all of us gathered in the living room. "What the heck is going on here?" he demanded. "Intervention," I said. "Have a seat, David. We were just reviewing your extracurricular activities." He saw the photos spread across the table, and his expression changed. The confident swagger disappeared, replaced by the look of a cornered animal. "Jennifer, what are you doing here? Supporting my new friend Ethan. Turns out we have a lot in common." She gestured to the evidence. "Recognize these photos? That's your lake house, isn't it? And that's you and Lydia, in various states of undress." David's face flushed red. "You had me followed?" "We both did," I said. "Professional investigators, multiple cameras, weeks of surveillance, very thorough documentation. This is harassment. I could have you arrested." "For what? Photographing you in public places? Recording your license plate at hotel parking lots?" Everything here was obtained legally. David looked at Lydia, who was still staring at the photos in shock. "Lydia, don't say anything. We need to talk to lawyers." "Too late for lawyers," Jennifer said. "This isn't a legal proceeding. This is a social reckoning." I stood up, moving closer to David. He was taller than me, but I had 30 pounds of muscle from construction work and 15 years of accumulated anger. "Here's what's going to happen," I said quietly. "You're going to sit down and listen while we explain exactly how this plays out. No arguments, no negotiations, no threats." "You can't make me do anything," I smiled. "David, I build things for a living. I understand structural engineering, load-bearing capacity, stress points. Right now, you're looking at complete structural failure." Something in my voice must have convinced him. He sat down heavily in my recliner, looking smaller than he had moments before. "Smart choice," Jennifer said. "Now let's talk about consequences." David Turner had spent years manipulating situations to his advantage, but he'd never faced anything like this. Two betrayed spouses working together, armed with months of evidence and no interest in his usual charm offensive. "First," I said, "let's establish the facts. David, you've been having an affair with my wife for 6 months. This isn't your first extramarital relationship. Jennifer has documented at least 3 others in the past 5 years. That's not— Shut up, I'm talking." I pulled out additional photos. Sarah Mitchell, 2019, Rebecca Torres, 2021, Amanda Walsh, in 2022. Same pattern every time, married women, vulnerable periods in their lives, your lake house is the primary location. David's face was ashen. He hadn't realized how much we knew. Jennifer took over. "Each time when these relationships ended, you managed to destroy the women's reputations while maintaining your own. Sarah Mitchell had to move to another state. Rebecca Torres lost custody of her children in her divorce. Amanda Walsh tried to take her own life." "That wasn't my fault," David protested. "Everything's your fault," I said. "You're a predator who uses your business to hunt married women, and you're about to face consequences." Lydia finally spoke up. "David, is this true about the other women?" He looked at her with something approaching desperation. "Lydia, you know what we have is different. Those others meant nothing." "That's what you told each of them," Jennifer said. "I have recordings, David. You used almost identical language with every woman." I pulled out my phone and played an audio file. David's voice filled the room. "You're different from the others, Lydia. What we have is real. My marriage has been dead for years. You're the only thing that makes me feel alive." Lydia's face crumpled. "You recorded our conversations?" "Your phone's been compromised for weeks," I explained. "Every call, every text, every photo you thought was private, we have everything." David jumped to his feet. "This is illegal surveillance. You can't use any of this." "Sit down," I said, and something in my tone made him comply immediately. "We're not in court, David. This isn't about legal admissibility. This is about social consequences." Jennifer opened her laptop. "Tomorrow morning, copies of everything go to the following people: the membership list of Platinum Fitness, the board of the Chamber of Commerce, the PTA at both elementary schools, and the mailing list of the community newsletter. You can't do that. Watch us," I said. "But first, you're going to hear exactly what your choices are." I walked to the window, looking out at David's BMW parked in my driveway. Option 1. You and Lydia can continue your relationship. Move in together, go public, face the social consequences as a couple. Everyone will know exactly how your relationship started and what kind of man you are. but you'll have each other. Option 2, Jennifer continued, you end this affair immediately, confess everything to the families you've destroyed, and spend the rest of your life trying to make amends. The evidence still goes public, but you might salvage some dignity by taking responsibility. Option 3, I concluded. You try to lie your way out of this like you did with the others. In which case, we release everything immediately and make sure every person in this town knows exactly who David Turner really is. David was sweating now, his carefully styled hair disheveled. What do you want from me? Nothing, I said. This isn't a negotiation. These are your choices. Pick one. Lydia spoke up, her voice barely a whisper. David, tell me the truth. About the other women. About what you told them. He looked at her, then at the evidence spread across the table, then back at her. Lydia, you have to understand. Tell me the truth! The silence stretched for nearly a minute. Finally, David's shoulders slumped in defeat. Yes, he said quietly. There were others, and yes, I told them similar things, but that doesn't mean what we have isn't real. Lydia stood up slowly, her face a mask of betrayal and disgust. Get out. Lydia, please. Get out of my house. Get out of my life. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't come near me. David looked around the room desperately, seeking some avenue of escape or negotiation. Finding none, he headed for the door. This isn't over, he said. Yes, it is, Jennifer replied. Your reputation, your business, your marriage, all of it's over. The only question is whether you face it with some dignity or make it worse by fighting. After David left, the three of us sat in uncomfortable silence. The evidence was still spread across the coffee table, a paper monument to betrayal and deception. What happens now? Lydia asked. Now you decide what kind of person you want to be going forward, I said. But you don't get to decide that here. I want you out of this house by tomorrow night. Ethan, please. Can't we work through this? Work through what? 6 months of lies, a relationship with a serial predator? The fact that you were planning to keep this going indefinitely? She had no answer for that. I'll stay at my sister's tonight, she said finally. We can talk when you've had time to cool down. There's nothing to talk about. My lawyer will be in touch about divorce proceedings. After Lydia went upstairs to pack, Jennifer and I finished organizing the evidence. You really going to release all this? She asked. Every word. David Turner's reign of terror ends now. And Lydia? I looked at the photos of my wife with another man, the text messages mocking our marriage, the receipts for romantic dinners I'd never shared with her. Lydia made her choice. Now she gets to live with the consequences. The next morning, Jennifer and I executed our plan with military precision. By 9 a.m., packets containing photos, text messages, and financial records had been delivered to 43 key figures in our small town's social hierarchy, and the Chamber of Commerce president received his packet during his morning coffee at the diner. The PTA chairwoman found hers in her mailbox, alongside the usual bills and advertisements. The mayor's wife discovered her copy on the front seat of her car in the municipal building parking lot. Each packet included a cover letter explaining David Turner's pattern of predatory behavior and Lydia's willing participation in destroying 2 marriages. No editorializing, no emotional appeals, just facts, dates, and photographic evidence. By noon, my phone was ringing constantly. Nate called first. Holy crap, Ethan. Did you really send these photos to everyone in town? Just the important people. Word will spread. It's spreading, all right. Marty says his bar's been packed since 10 this morning, with people talking about nothing else. David Turner's finished. Good. And Lydia? What about her? People are saying some pretty harsh things. This is a small town. She'll never live this down. She should have thought about that before she decided to screw around. The second call came from Jennifer. David's at the gym, screaming at employees and threatening to sue everyone in sight. 3 members have already canceled their memberships. How are you holding up? Better than I have in months. It's amazing how good the truth feels after living with lies for so long. By afternoon, the social media posts had started. Screenshots of the evidence were circulating on Facebook and Instagram. The town's unofficial gossip network had gone into overdrive, with David and Lydia's affair becoming the only topic of conversation at every coffee shop, restaurant, and workplace. Lydia called at 4 p.m., crying hysterically. Ethan, you have to make this stop. People are calling me horrible names. Someone threw eggs at my car. I can't even go to the grocery store without people staring. Welcome to consequences, I said. This is cruel. Whatever I did, I don't deserve this level of humiliation. You don't deserve it? What about what you did to our marriage? What about the lies, the deception, the complete betrayal of everything we built together? I made a mistake. You made a choice. Every day for 6 months, you chose to betray me. You chose to lie to my face. You chose to mock our marriage in text messages to your lover. Now you get to live with those choices. Please, Ethan, I'll do anything to fix this. There's nothing to fix. It's over. I hung up and turned off my phone. That evening, Jennifer and I met at the Copper Tap to observe the fallout. The bar was packed with locals dissecting every detail of the scandal. Marty was in his element, dispensing drinks and commentary with equal enthusiasm. Ethan, he waved us over. Drinks are on the house tonight. You two are heroes. We're not heroes, Jennifer said. We're just people who got tired of being lied to. Same thing in my book. David Turner's been playing games in this town for years. About time someone called him out. A woman approached our table, Sarah Mitchell, one of David's previous victims. She'd driven down from Vermont after hearing about the scandal. I wanted to thank you, she told Jennifer and me. What David did to me nearly destroyed my life. Seeing him finally exposed, it means everything. How are you doing now? Jennifer asked. Better. It took 2 years of therapy and a complete change of scenery, but I rebuilt my life. My ex-husband and I even reconciled. Turns out David had been feeding him lies about me pursuing him. More people approached throughout the evening. Other women who'd been targeted by David, husbands who'd suspected but couldn't prove their wives were having affairs, community members who'd always sensed something was wrong with David's too perfect public image. By closing time, it was clear that David Turner's reputation was completely destroyed. His gym would likely close within weeks. His marriage was over. His standing in the community was non-existent. Lydia's fate was equally sealed. The marketing firm had already announced her resignation to avoid being associated with the scandal. Her friends had distanced themselves. Her family was mortified. Any regrets? Jennifer asked as we prepared to leave. I thought about it seriously. 12 years of marriage, reduced to evidence packets and public humiliation. A woman I'd once loved, now facing social exile because of choices she'd made. No, I said finally. They earned this. 3 days later, David Turner left town. His BMW was loaded with suitcases and boxes, his lake house already listed for sale. He'd found a job managing a gym in Florida, far from the wreckage of his reputation. Lydia lasted another week before following him south. Not to reconcile. She'd learned enough about his other affairs to end any remaining feelings, but because staying in town had become impossible. Every interaction was poisoned by whispers and stares. Jennifer filed for divorce and kept the gym, which she renamed and rebuilt as a legitimate fitness facility. She hired female trainers exclusively and instituted strict policies about professional boundaries. I kept the house, paid off the mortgage with money from my construction business, and started dating a teacher from the next town over. Someone with no connection to the scandal, no baggage from my previous life. 6 months after the confrontation, I received a letter from Lydia. She was working at a small marketing firm in Tampa, living in a studio apartment, struggling to rebuild her professional reputation. She wanted to apologize, to explain her actions, to somehow find forgiveness for what she'd done. I read the letter once, then threw it away without responding. Some betrayals are too complete for forgiveness. Some choices have permanent consequences. Lydia and David had discovered that truth in the most public way possible. Justice had been served, cold and thorough and final. As I sat on my front porch that evening, watching the sunset paint our quiet street in golden light, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. The truth had set me free. Even if it had destroyed everything else in the process, sometimes that's the only victory available. Sometimes it's enough.